$37 million player option for the upcoming 2022-23 season is at 5 p.m. today, and Woj is reporting that Harden would be more than likely to opt in than sign an extension for 2 more seasons at a substantial number, but still lower than a max salary figure, which brings us to what is the Sixers' ceiling presently as it is constructed?
Well, I mean, listen, Harden really fell off the last year and a half. He's never been great in postseason scenarios anyway, where he's the same. He's never been great. I've always thought he's a little overrated. Hey, wait, Van Gundy tells me he's better than Jerry West. Jeff, he's not better than Jerry West. I'm sorry. Don't go. I don't care what he does.
I love when you start talking about guys from the 60s and 70s.
This is the first chance out. There you go. You haven't heard me do this yet, have you?
Oh, yeah, I have. I can't wait for chapter 2. I want to hear this.
It's coming.
It's coming.
The
show is young.
I kind of feel the same way with Harden I do with Kyrie. If there's ever an off season where he's not going to go to Vegas and he's going to realize, you know what, I'm going to work on my game 6-7 hours a day, get myself in primo shape, and really play with Embiid 70 games, this is the year. He played awful, except for the one game. He played awful against the Heat in the postseason last year. He was terrible in the last 2 games, got booed out of the arena, although I was in Ireland, I didn't hear it, but I listened to you. They tell me they booed him out of the arena. So as a result of that, you would think that light a little fire under him. I know he's a little different. You know him better than me. I would think this year he'd give you a pretty good effort, so I'll say the ceiling for the Sixers is a little higher than normal.
Yeah.
In the next couple of days, we could have a changing of the way James Harden is viewed in Philadelphia.
Okay.
The Sixers are operating right now like they're about to have some salary flexibility. And it looks like they're going to try to sign P.J. Tucker. The only way they can do that is if they trade a player, which I don't see, or if James Harden is ready to take a pay cut off of this $47 million right now. Now, it doesn't have to happen this way, but James Harden could be on the verge of opting out of his contract and not only not taking a max, but lowering his salary this year to open up space to add a player. And so this is a guy who demanded out of Houston, demanded out of Brooklyn. His first order of business when he got to Philadelphia was to say, I know you want me to pick up this option so that we know that there's no drama next summer, but I'm actually not going to pick it up. I know that I said I was going to pick it up, but I'm not going to pick it up. Imagine your first order of business with a team that's just stuck their neck out to trade for you is to kind of go back on the word that you already made. Having said all that, he might be about to really help them build this team.
Fair.
So let's see what he does with this option today. Woj is right. There's no concern that he's not going to be a Sixer. And I don't think he's signing for a max. But he could really, and remember, he played with P.J. Tucker in Houston when Daryl Morey was there.
So he knows him.
And
likes him.
You mentioned that series. 2 years ago, Milwaukee with P.J. Tucker plays Miami. They lose. Miami loses. They go, boy, we'd really like to have that P.J. Tucker guy. Last year, Philly plays Miami with P.J. Tucker.
Yeah.
And even after the last game, Embiid was like, boy, P.J. Tucker was really good. And now they're trying to bring him in. And Harden could be facilitating that. So obviously what really matters is what he does on the court, with the condition he's in. But James Harden could be shifting a little bit in his priorities and his team, his willingness to help the team in this next 48 hours.
Okay. I love what you guys have said. Here's the problem what you had to say. Joel Embiid told us exactly what he thought of James Harden after they lost in the playoff series. That James Harden is not there anymore. Whatever James Harden you're going to get, is it going to be good enough to be a team that contend in the Eastern Conference? Joel Embiid already laid that out by telling everybody, we can't allow him to be the Robin on this basketball team. If it has to be Tyrese Maxey, they're hoping Tobias Harris. We thought somebody didn't play well in the playoff series. That guy, Tobias Harris, getting a lot of money. You can't just be part of the Justice League on the outside looking in. You got to go help people take down the villain. And he didn't do that for the Philadelphia 76ers. So if they're relying on James Harden to be the Robin to the Batman that is Joel Embiid says, I can't trust that Robin. When Joel Embiid speaks, I'm just like the old E.F. Hutton commercials. I'm going to listen. I'm going to pay attention to him. So if he's telling us that already, I know they wait for a full training camp. You're right, Wendy. You're right, Chris. You got to see what he's going to look like. What kind of shape is he going to be in? Is he going to commit? But even if he does, Joel Embiid has basically told everybody, I don't know if we can rely on that guy to make us a championship team. And if that's how he felt and he still feels that way, I think they're sealing the Eastern Conference semifinals. They'll beat somebody in the first round. They'll be a top 4, top 5 seed, maybe a top 3 seed. But once they get past the second round, you're going to run into maybe a Brooklyn, maybe Milwaukee, maybe Miami, or maybe a Boston. I'll trust those 4 teams because, like you said, Chris, in the playoffs, As great as James Harden has been in the playoffs, he's less than wonderful. He allowed a Houston Rockets team in a Game 6 where Steph Curry went 0 for the first half, and they lost that game at home. And that has continued in his playoff career. That's a guy I'm not going to trust because Joel Embiid, like E.F. Hutton, I'm paying attention, told everybody that's not the guy we're getting, and that's not the guy that's going to help us win.
Well, hopefully Embiid did that as a little motivating scenario.
I hope so.
If I was James Harden and I'm as good as I'm supposed to be, and I got the center of my team saying that, I'm going to pay attention.
You should.
And I'm going to say, I'll prove him wrong. And so maybe Embiid's trying to play a little coach thing. I don't know if that's the case.
That's fair.
But if he does that, if Harden it's fascinating. If Harden and Irving do what they should do and realize they embarrassed their franchises last year, they put their stars in harm's way, Durant and Embiid, and take this summer to stay out of the news, get themselves in shape, and make a commitment to basketball, both teams could be very, very good.
No doubt.
It's a wonderful story.
It's probably not going to happen.
It's a great little fantasy
It's a
we
Wonderful Life, like the movie. You'll see.
It's a wonderful life. Well, James Harden and Russell Westbrook are both looking to bounce back after having down seasons by their standards, and they both averaged their lowest points since their years as Thunder teammates, with Westbrook failing to reach 20 points per game. Harden was better in each major category besides field goal percentage. Would you rather have Russ or Harden on your team? Wendy, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I'm seeing Harden potentially take steps to address where he is in his career.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that from Russell Westbrook. I haven't seen it. And the new coaching staff in LA, led by Darvin Ham, is attempting to set some parameters for Westbrook. One of his big complaints, I got to tell you, when you go back and look at the things that Russ said the day after the season ended, his exit interview this year, people gave Doc Rivers a lot of flack for what he said about Ben Simmons the year before and that sort of exit interview, and it was used against him for months. That was a rational statement that Doc made. Some of the things that Russ was saying, in my view, were irrational. And to listen to those comments where he was blaming everybody for his failures, like I would not have believed that the Lakers could possibly bring him back. Not only did he blame everybody else, he took direct shots at LeBron and Anthony Davis. I mean, he shivved Frank Vogel, but everybody knew Vogel was gone. He shivved these teammates. So they're trying to bring him back and convince him to change. When I just heard him say a couple of months ago, it's not me that's got to change, you got to change. So to me, I think what the coaches are doing with Westbrook is saying, okay, here's the new rules. Follow these rules, and you can have a role. If you don't follow those rules, to the bench, or worse, to home. So I'm going to give Westbrook the benefit of the doubt, and we're going to see what he shows up in doing. But they came in, the first thing Darvin Ham said when he sat down there was like, Russ, here's what you're going to do. You're going to play defense. You're going to sacrifice. He said it for him. So to me, Westbrook hasn't shown any sign of conciliation. Harden, especially if he takes this contract, is showing me some signs of reconciliation. So, and not only that, Harden is younger, and even though he's not in the greatest shape, he's a much more dynamic player. I'd much rather have Harden, especially a guy who's willing to help me build my team.
Here's why I'm taking Russell Westbrook, and it doesn't really have anything to do with X's and O's and Jimmys and Joes. I guess I want to see him prove people wrong. And it's a hard pick. I'll be completely transparent here because it doesn't make sense to me to say I would rather take Westbrook over Harden. But my heart wants him to succeed because so many people doubted him, and they continue to doubt him. And Russell Westbrook, Wendy, has not helped himself. He can be very, very Superman complex. I can cure things in a single bound because that's what he believes he has to do. Not just from an individual standpoint, but from a collective team standpoint. So I understand where his mental capacity is when it comes to that. But my heart wants to believe that he's going to figure this out and say, my way has not worked with this organization. Darvin Ham has said, here, to your point, here's your list, check it twice to make sure that you're going to be better and we're going to be better. I'm hoping that Russell Westbrook gets the message because my heart wants him to get the message. Because Russell Westbrook, to me, signifies what draft picks are supposed to be. Where people said, you're not going to be this, you're not going to be that, and that guy became an MVP player, and nobody saw that coming from Russell Westbrook. I'm hoping that as intelligent as he is, that he'll be able to figure that out because my heart wants him to figure that out because there's some good there with Russell Westbrook that if he allows that to come out and be more of a team player, that can make a major, major difference, not just for him, but for the Los Angeles
Be a nice
Lakers.
story.
Use it as fuel. Yeah.
Westbrook is great on a team when he had the triple-double, on a team that's not that good. By his force of will
That's fair.
and his competitiveness, they'll win 43 games.
That's fair.
That's what he'll do. Harden's got a better upside, and I'm picking poisons here, but I'll take Harden because the two things that Westbrook can't do kills you in postseason. He can't shoot, and he turns the ball over like crazy. So in the fourth quarter of huge games, not Sacramento in January, I'm talking playoff games, he will not make threes because he's an inconsistent outside shooter, and you can't drive to the basket. Defenses are packed. They're not going to get you to the free throw line. And he turns the ball over like crazy. He's careless. So I don't love it, but you gave me Victoria the choice. I'll take Harden.
Well, who's going to have the better season, Lakers or Sixers?
I think you got to say the Sixers.
Or the Lakers have 6 players.
I know.
I
had to ask.
I don't have any idea what the Lakers are going to be. The Lakers could win 7 or 8 more games, which would be terrific. Any team would look to win 7 or 8 more games. They could win 7 or 8 more games and still not make the proper playoffs.
Sure.
They were 11th in the West last year.
Wow. Yeah, it's the Sixers. There's no doubt about that. And everybody in the West is going to get better.
Yeah.
Think about that. Memphis